love is the fabric of the universe. We are all created and formed in love. And it's when we get away from that, when we teach our children to move away from that, that things get a little wild in our lives, and that our children then feel disconnected from themselves. And so in the season then of giving and caring and love and compassion and kindness and gratitude, it's inviting our children into those emotions, into those concepts, into those thought spaces that tunes them then in even more into their true self, their true soul, their authentic little sweet, wonderful them. And so instead of focusing so much on, okay, this is just holidays and things and we do gifts or we do whatever, it's for me an emphasis with my daughter on this is us giving love.
Hi, Conscious Parents. It's Cari here, and I am here with a little info about raising our mindful kids. I've got some tips and tricks about breaking free of the box and becoming who you are and teaching your kids how to do that along the way. Join us. Hi there and welcome back. I'm so excited. You guys probably heard some fun holiday music coming in because we have round 2 of our holiday series. We have Christmas, Hanukkah, winter solstice, any type of thing that you are celebrating this holiday season of December. And today I have a group session. I'm so excited. I have Dr. Jennifer Schall, Teal Shoup, and Dara Byrne here. And I'm so excited to have you all here. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. So I wanted to jump right in and just jump in with a question. I was thinking this December, I'm starting to realize how much the energy starts to speed up as the holidays are coming. It's basketball practice, Cub Scout, astronomy lesson. We have all these things going, and I've almost missed appointments recently. What are your thoughts on some of this energy and some of the things coming into play in December?
I've been feeling that same way. It's the Thanksgiving acceleration button in the US with Thanksgiving anyway for the US listeners, and things just rocket off from the end of November through into the new year. And it's holy smokes. And I was thinking about this the other day and thinking, wow, how is it that this energy is so intense? And what was coming to me was like, whoa, because I've got so many expectations about what the holidays look like, right? We've got so many things packed in, and then it's like everybody else is trying to jam things in before the end of the year, thinking I've got to get things done before the end of the year. That was at least some of the things I was seeing. So people like to just, okay, book more in. And it's not just the holiday parties, but it's also, did I get to my goals? And that's even pressure on our kids with school and end of year projects and even the celebrations. It's just, there's this sort of time pressure that comes with it, with the end of the year approaching, not just the holidays. And people just dogpile into that. And I was like, this is so interesting. At least my perspective on it from what I was seeing, my take was, wow, we have so many expectations about this time of year. And then we get so into the goals and let's wrap up the year on a good note and let's have the best holiday ever, that things just take off because they're so cram jam.
When did it become the competition with ourselves? Like, it's going to be the best holiday. We got to beat the last holiday. And does anybody have any ideas for how we could slow down? Or thank you, Teal, for that comment. I love it.
This is like diet related because I think we start to experience, like Teal said, like there's all this pressure and this momentum, and we're just go, and a lot of us start to burn out. But also, this is like a really high sugar, treat filled, like processed food type of time. And the biggest thing that I see, like in my practice, is okay, we have to be very conscious of how we're eating. Are we getting enough protein? Are we balancing this with good fats? Like, we can't just load up on cookies all day and then expect to be able to go, like Teal said, and you were saying, basketball practice and shopping and all the things. We really need to fuel our bodies with the proper nutrients too.
Ooh, That's such a great one. Thank you, Dr. Jen. I was recently at a children's Halloween little festivities, and I was talking to some moms, and they were saying, I was telling them about how food coloring and dyes have really affected my kids' behavior. And the moms turned to each other and they're like, oh, we've been giving our kids like so much sugar. We need to cut this back. And I think it's just part of our culture, right? Like just adding all this sugar. And it's really wonderful we can find alternatives to that piece. Thank you so much, Jen, for mentioning that. Okay. So I also wanted to ask you guys, have you found anything that has helped you to stay mindful or connected during this season?
This time of year is actually, if we look to nature, right? If we look to Mother Earth, if we look to even our own biology and circadian rhythms and all of our function, we're already being invited to slow down and be mindful with the change of season, especially with the winter solstice coming up and all of that. Like everything is a rhythm and a cycle. And even though the holidays are like, woo, flashy light, full speed ahead kind of thing, it's nature's doing the opposite, right? So our inherent nature and biology is actually in the opposite direction to slow down. Because look at over here in the northern hemisphere, this is winter. Everything is going dormant. Everything is slowing down. Everything is dying back in order to rest, conserve energy, rebuild itself, and then give birth again in the spring. And so to me, the path that I love to walk in this more often than even any time of the year is connecting with nature and the beautiful rhythms outside, which can be tricky because we get dark earlier and it's cold out. So we don't always want to go outside. But I love to walk through whatever nature is around me and truly just notice what is happening with nature and how can I bring that into my life. And I take my daughter out with that. And this is what's so fun with kids too, is that like everything with the seasons is always being seen with fresh eyes with our children. And it's just magical to then walk and look at nature through their fresh eyes of, oh, look at the frost. Look at the snow. Look at that bird who has come out of the mountains because the mountains are getting such heavy snow. It's coming here to live with us now because it can get more food. We're not having so much cold and snow and everything like the mountains. It's those little things, I think, in nature that we tune into that make us so present, that help us see that connection with the seasons, the cycles of our life, the cycles of the earth. And it's, no pun intended, but a breath of fresh air, because just being in nature, we feel ourselves slow right down. It talks to us. The energy of nature talks to us and talks to our bodies. It talks to our children even more because they're not full of all of the chaos and programming and nonsense that we are as adults yet. So it even reaches them even more. And it's just so beautiful to walk and look at this tree, touch this tree, see the snow, look at how the sky looks different. The light in the sky is different this time of year. But sorry, I could talk all day. I don't want to hog the show here. I'm so sorry. But it's just, it's like, it's so simple and we miss it, I think. We zoom past it.
It's so magical the way you describe winter. That's why we're all just in Zen listening to you, Teal. I totally forget about the winter piece of the holidays, the hibernation, the slowing down. And it actually makes me think of the COVID times. I know it was a little bit chaos for a lot of people. Our family was really lucky. I was at home and I was staying at home with the kids. And so I could be present with our 5-year-old and our 2-year-old at the time. And it actually is part of our favorite memories of raising our kids. They were at that age where we could just incubate and be present. And my kids say, I miss being at home with you all the time, Mom. My 6-year-old, she now is 6, but she loved that time. So yeah, we can slow down and be present and share that love of nature with, get out and do active meditation with them, right? Talk about noticing the snow on the trees, noticing all these different pieces, what it smells like when it snows or rains. Did you have something, Dr. Jen?
Just the way you guys described that, it was truly beautiful. And from a science perspective, like there's a Japanese tradition called forest bathing, where literally you go into the woods. They spend like hours in there in the middle of the winter. I'm not going to, but it really helps drop your cortisol. And your cortisol is your stress hormone. So, like all of us just running, and like you said, Carrie, like during COVID, that was like you said, I understand it was really hard for a lot of people, but like for my family, we it was calm, it was quiet. It's literally I like pivoted in my life thinking, what do I really want? So, anyways, that cortisol, that stress response, we really need to be cognizant of that. And going in the woods, being in nature, that's going to help us and our kids. Because I remember when my boys were little, it's a little crazy when they're trapped in the house too. It's important. Get them outside, bundle them up, and go out.
That's saying something coming from you in Michigan, bundling them up and going outside. Yeah, there's no bad weather, just bad clothing. I love using yeah, I use that term a lot with my kiddos, and it's true. They'll go out there in the snow when it's 0 degrees and go sledding. So we started that young. As the season is approaching, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dr. Lisa Miller. She's a research psychologist, and she's done a lot of research on spirituality and the foundation of having spirituality in our lives as children. And how children are born seeking spiritual pieces. They're born connected with nature, as Teal has mentioned. They're born asking really insightful and deep questions and wanting to experience life. And how when we foster this with them as in the childhood, as they grow, it really helps with growth in all areas for them. So I was curious if you guys bring in any spirituality into your families in the holiday season, or what that might look like for you.
For our family, it's really a all the time thing. It's not just the holidays. Because for us, we view things as that, yeah, we are spiritual beings. We're born here into human form, but we are spiritual cosmic beings, our soul. And our human form, our bodies, our beautiful bodies are taking us on this journey here on earth. And so it's this wonderful connection that I love seeing and nurturing in our children, because they are born, as you said, already so tuned into nature, so tuned into spirit or source or universe or God or whatever you'd like to call it, right? They don't yet have all of the baggage and the conditioning and whatever it is that we pick up and are taught over the years, right? And that emphasis even in the holidays is, I think, even more strong, especially because it's related to so many for a religious narrative or a dogma or something like that comes into play with the holiday season. But it's beautiful because our children are so pure. Our children are so pure, and it's just one more opportunity for us to encourage them to connect just with themselves, that beautiful pureness, that light, that pure love that's already in themselves. And we're doing that right through the things like we were talking about. You're mentioning the mindfulness, but I love to take it even into more of an emphasis in the holidays with my family into love, because what I teach and have as part of my being is that love is our highest frequency. Love is the fabric of the universe. We are all created and formed in love. And it's when we get away from that, when we teach our children to move away from that, that things get a little wild in our lives, and that our children then feel disconnected from themselves. And so in the season then of giving and caring and love and compassion and kindness and gratitude, it's inviting our children into those emotions, into those concepts, into those thought spaces that tunes them then in even more into their true self, their true soul, their authentic little sweet, wonderful them. And so instead of focusing so much on, okay, this is just holidays and things and we do gifts or we do whatever, it's for me an emphasis with my daughter on this is us giving love to this morning. She's helping me shop for Graham and Gramp, right? I'm on Amazon shopping for things for Graham and Gramp. And we're giving love, we're showing our gratitude. We are in then reciprocity of giving and receiving of love from Graham and Gramp with these gifts. And these are just a little show of our love and our caring. It's not about the present or the thing, but we honor them. We have compassion for them. We show this with love. How can we send love? And it's just a tiny little example. There's so many other areas where this comes into the holidays, right? With donations or helping with other holiday traditions at soup kitchens or the homeless or donating to clubs when you buy your gifts. There's so many ways to give and care and share in the holidays and give that example to our kids of us being loving and caring because they will mirror that just like that. And yeah, I just look at the holidays as this is even more love always to mirror that for our children to be resonating even more in spirit in themselves.
Love it, Teal. Thank you. Hi there, Changemaker moms and dads. It's Cari here. I hope you're enjoying today's episode. If there's any pieces of this episode that resonate with you, we would love for you to share it with a friend. A little helping hand goes a long way. We appreciate you tuning in, and here's more.
Yeah, that was great. So I do have a little story actually speaking about just giving and sharing. And just like you said, Teal, like our focus is helping others, showing love, like amongst family, friends, but to people we don't know too. So we did this activity. So my boys are 17 and 14. So we did adopt a grandparent. So we went and bought all the gifts, all the presents, and then I made the boys wrap them. And then yesterday we went and dropped off these baskets full of gifts. And the lady said to my youngest, don't ever stop having a giving heart because you never know what you'll need someday. And my son was like, I don't really understand what that means. I'm like, oh, my love, this is what you do. You give, but don't ever expect anything back. Give just genuinely and lovingly without ever expecting anything back. And just always do that your whole life. And so, anyways, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is such a beautiful story. I love that they got to see where the gifts were going and they got to communicate with the person. What a lovely message for your boy.
Yes, so sweet.
I didn't know that they have programs to give to grandparents or elderly people. We've only ever talked about kids not receiving toys or parents not being able to buy toys for their kiddos. We have a toy drive going at my son's school, and he gets to go with his third grade class and help put together the baskets and stuff to send to kids. And then we do one at our spiritual center where we do stockings and we stuff them for kids. Yeah, doing these acts of kindness and sharing love and spreading love. I love what you're saying about love for gifts. It's a wonderful thing to instill with them when they're young, because it can quickly turn into Santa's coming. What does Santa bring? Yeah. So yeah, I love that you're fostering.
We have to keep holidays as like emotion and family and memories, because you're right, otherwise it does turn into things, and I would not advise that.
And I love too what you were saying, Dr. Jen, about giving without expectation of return, giving with an open heart, because that is true giving, right? Otherwise, it's this giving to get kind of thing. And for me, that's an energetic situation too. And so I'm always like, okay, being mindful of when I'm doing stuff with my and what I'm emulating for my daughter, because it's, why am I giving? Why do I feel called to maybe make a donation or do some other service this time of year? Do I feel like I have to, like it's an expectation, or is it coming from complete pure soul heart, open heart, and just love and giving? Because they will sense that too. Like, we can't fool our kids if we feel like, oh, everybody else is donating or doing whatever this time of year, volunteers, like I got to do the thing too. Like, our kids read that. They read that, and that's not then the lesson, the message, the modeling that I encourage or I emulate, when then our kids are just going to be that same way too. So I love that, Dr. Jen. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, given with an open heart is so beautiful.
Yes. And right now, my heart is growing as I'm hearing these stories. And I wrote down love. I was like, we need to talk more about this in our house this week. And I'm thinking also, as the holidays are coming, it also opens up so much room as a mom or a dad to grow in our own as well. Thinking about spiritual growth, sometimes it can raise up pieces that we may need to heal at this time. Do you have any thoughts about this area?
So for me, like, I love oils, like I'm big on supplements, but the biggest thing is, like, around the holiday, I always think about frankincense. That's been around for thousands of years. Frankincense is just a really grounding, centering oil. So I find myself diffusing that in the house a lot. Different oils like clove, cinnamon, which are of course really warm, but also they're great for your immune system. Orange, wild orange, also great for your immune system, boost mood. So I just definitely invite people to do that because it's going up and affecting your limbic system in your brain. It's physiological. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Jen.
These holiday times are peak times for big challenges, especially when it comes to family. And as you said, being around your own family or in-laws can be a big trigger point for lots of intergenerational issues. For me, I think the biggest thing is the kind of relationship that I have with my wife, and that's something that I talk a lot about with other fathers and husbands, is that relationship that you're cultivating with your partner is the key to growing out of those intergenerational issues. Me and my wife both have spiritual practices. I'm big into yoga and meditation particularly. So we both have those things that we do and allow ourselves the time to do that. We work as a team, have our daughter, and we'll take turns, especially if we both have time off work. We'll schedule it out. And I'm an early morning person, so I like to get up earlier before the daughter, do some meditation, some yoga, get myself centered. And then my wife, she's a coffee person, so she goes and gets her coffee, and I play with my daughter, and she does her practices later on. But if we have challenges, if we're around in-laws, we will meet it with a brave face as it's happening, and we know each other's triggers because we talk a lot about it. But then afterwards, when we come back home, we use our relationship to decompress those things, and we create the safety to explore some of the things that we can't explore with our parents, for instance. So if I find myself getting triggered and upset and reverting back to a kind of more hurt part of myself, in the moment, I'll, try to stay as engaged as possible with my daughter and my family. And then later on, I'll talk to my wife about it. And we have different ways of working through it, expressing the emotions and coming up with solutions as a team. So if it happens again the next day, how can we approach this better? And in that way, I feel more supported. It's not just, oh no, here's all these things that I try to run away from every year. So yeah, I would say one of the biggest things for growing is the relationship that I have with my wife.
Awesome. That's really helpful. I didn't even think about relationship-wise with our partner, which that just tells you where your mind goes during the season is a lot of kid energy. But I love those pieces that you're talking about. So how do you work in your family to prioritize the meaning of holidays?
Okay, I'll jump in first. For my family, we consciously talk about who can we help. So if there's a coat drive, we're going to go get coats. We're going to do these things, but we do it together. As parents, my husband and I always consciously made that a priority. Like Dara said, together we decided this is what we want our kids to do. This is the snacks we want to go drop off to the firefighters. We're going to do it together. All these things, it's a conscious effort, and we consciously do that together with the kids.
Thanks, Dr. Jen.
Yeah, I think one thing that is important to me with my daughter, because she's still young and she's growing, is to incorporate some kind of familial traditions that I have, and as well with my wife. I think like a big thing about the Christmas is like ancestral. I'm really big into like ancestral intergenerational things, so I love introducing her to things that I resonate with for Christmas, what I associate with Christmas, and the things that were impactful for me is at her age. So charity work is a big thing. I come from a line of social workers, so we always used to make the kind of shoe boxes. I don't know if we do them here in the US as much, but you get like an old shoe box and you just fill it with little knickknacks and toys, toothbrushes, things like that, and they get sent to communities that are less advantaged. And those things as a kid really helped me become more empathetic and more aware, because coming from the Western world, and we get so many big gifts and a lot of food and just so much excess, that just seeing, oh wow, some child is going to be amazed at these little knickknacks that I get every day, is something that kind of emotionally resonated with me. So those kind of little things are things that I really hope to impart onto my kids as well, is this idea of how can you build awareness of what's happening around the world at this time of year, what is special for other people and what's special for your family and where you're coming from, and how can all those things link together to build a kind of higher field of awareness of what's happening.
That's great, Dara. I love the ancestry piece. It's not something that I had thought about, but I think we do often carry down the most important pieces, right? And when you have your own family, you can choose which are your favorites. You can leave behind some others, but you choose your favorite pieces. You can carry down that tradition. Along those lines, I think I've learned in my family to prioritize the ones that are the most important to us and let go of the ones that you have to prioritize because there are so many, since American culture has those expectations, right? Of so many pieces. You watch a Hallmark movie and you think your house has to look exactly like that. Whereas my husband was getting up on a ladder to hang out the lights last weekend, and he started to feel a little bit dizzy last year. And then this year again, when he tried to get the top peak, and he's, no, I'm not going to Chevy Chase this and fall off the ladder. And my kids really just want to play with me. They're like, Dad, let's do this. Let's do this. And he's, I got to hang the lights because you want the lights. So he said, my kids don't care about the lights. Let's plug in a blow up in the front lawn and I'll go play with them and follow what they want to do this weekend. They just want to spend time with me. They don't care if we have the perfect lights in our house.
I love that. It's so true. One thing that always comes up for me every holiday is the word attachment. What am I attached to in the holidays that actually isn't me? It doesn't feel good to me, doesn't feel like completely in alignment and resonance with me. And it's, yeah, you're talking about, oh, does my house look as Candy Cane Lane as the Smiths down the street? Oh my gosh, I gotta up my game. Is that really me? Is that really what I want? And why am I attached to that? And look at, yeah, we have these stories about why we do the things we do in the holidays. And generally, there a lot of times you look at them closely, we're like, we don't even want to do that. Just let it go. Because like you so said, and like you said, Dara, too, like we just be with our kids, be with our family. Choose the things that feel good, right? Just choose the things that feel good, that feel fun, that feel light, right? And if that means you don't put up any decorations, that's great. If it means you don't bake cookies, that's great. If you bake 7,000 cookies, that's great, right? I just be guided by what's going on inside rather than this mental to-do list. It's just been, oh gosh, such a blessing in my life to let go of the expectations, because I was always like super type A, people pleaser, crazy long to-do list, What are my parents going to think if I don't do their traditions? Let's just let that go and be at peace and just spend time with our kids, drop the attachments. And I love what you're saying too about the ancestral part too, Dara, because that was so big in my life. That's one thing I have majorly prioritized. I am from a very Polish heritage. And there's a beautiful tradition called a płatek, which is a wafer of unleavened bread. And it's a ceremony with all of your loved ones, then, of you break off pieces and share pieces with each other. And then you have just a face to face, heart to heart. I'm grateful for you. Thank you for this year. You mean so much in my life. This incredibly intimate sharing. Like, I cry with every person every time throughout my family. My bread is now soggy. It's like wet styrofoam. But we're doing that with my daughter, and she's 2. She doesn't really understand, but she reads the emotion. She gets like the heart, the love, and that place, when you feel that heart and that love in your holiday traditions, those are the keepers. Those are the keepers. And if you can then prioritize based on that feeling, remember that feeling and prioritize based on that, like, things just feel more light.
Yeah. I love the ancestry piece. I think remembering people that maybe we grew up with there that are not there anymore. I know at our spiritual center, they still do the candlelight ceremony, which I grew up doing when I was a kid and always would go with my grandmother and stuff. And so every time we light those candles, I get very emotional as well. And that's Christmas Eve right there, right? Being with your family, singing songs, being together, and lighting the candle. That was a special moment for our families and remembering those people that used to be here with us. So I love that piece, guys. Do you all have a favorite tool or a way to connect with yourself? Dara had mentioned a little bit. When things feel overwhelming as a parent, what do you like to do for yourself? How do you reset? What's any tips in that area?
Okay, for me personally, I feel like the crazy oil lady because I'm coming back to oils, but my kids literally, they laugh about it. Like my youngest one found this TikTok and it was this lady and her kid like fake broke his arm and she goes, "Hold on, honey, let me get my oils." I'm like, that's ridiculous. I would never. But anyways, the oils, when you take oils and you literally just do a couple of drops in your palm, you want to make sure they're pure because a lot can be neurotoxic because they're contaminated. But when you do that, you just make a cup. You do that for 30 seconds. So some of the stuff, my go-tos are like vetiver. Vetiver's, it doesn't smell great, I'll just be honest, but it works so good pulling myself together. It helps me keep myself together. And things like lavender for anxious feelings, for sleep, for stuff like that.
What was the name of the first oil that you mentioned?
It's called vetiver. With a V, vetiver. It smells not great. My kids call that my stink oil. But my stink oil really helps with grounding and centering. Yeah, so those are some of my favorite ways. Or like holy basil, tulsi. I love to use that for just recentering. And I think like we've discussed like anxiety, but also like Dara said, like coming together with family can be triggering. It can get you riled up. So maybe before you go, you're putting on grounding oils, maybe some bergamot with some lime and whatever, chamomile if you need to calm, like just all these different things to help you go into the situation. Maybe a little bit lighter.
Yeah, I love that. I also like to diffuse oils, and when the kids are sick, I'll do eucalyptus and such. And my kids also laugh. They call me the good witch. So I get the same thing from my kids. But yeah, I love that. That's great. Thank you, Dr. Jen.
I think one of the things that we talk a lot about in the framework that we use in our coaching for fathers is the differences in biological responses that happen for mothers and fathers. For instance, my wife because she's the primary nurturer and carer, gets triggered a lot more intensely than I would. For instance, if my daughter's having a tantrum, or sorry, my earbud fell out, or if she's having a hard moment, that will have a very strong effect on my wife that I won't notice as much. So in those moments that you're talking about, especially in the holiday, one thing that we talk about with other fathers is the sense of responsibility we have to try and maintain a regulated state for the whole family, mother, father, and children. Because when it gets very tense in the house and kids are chaotic and crazy, I can start noticing that my wife is starting to lose her tolerance to be able to cope, and she needs some self-care for herself. And that's when I feel like I need to round up the kids, for in my case the singular kid, and take her out and give her some playtime outdoors, or vice versa. If it's late or if the weather's bad, my wife will probably leave and go take that time for herself to either exercise or take some time. And that's one thing that I think is important for fathers. I know there's not a whole lot of representation for fathers usually in the conscious parenting space, but we, in my opinion, from the research that I've done, I think we have a responsibility not only for our own self-care, but we really do need to prioritize our wives and partners to help them. Because a lot of the times I've noticed with working with couples and stuff that usually the mother will run into a wall and the father's scratching his head being like, well, I don't know, maybe she should do, I don't know what to do. And it's usually in those moments where the father should step up and be like, okay, from a purely biological perspective, I have a higher tolerance for some of these things, and I need to step in and just bring some levity in play. And that's usually what we're good at, and what kids are attracted towards the father figure usually is for play, exploration, and they can be great diffusers and a great opportunity then for mothers to find self-care, time alone, re-regulate for other stressful times. But yeah, just to go on that question of self-care from the father perspective, I think it's just really important this time of year to prioritize your partner and really make sure that she's getting a lot of self-care, and really have a few, even take some notes. I always have like all different sorts of books of how to play with your kid, and I just pull out different games and activities. I'm like, oh, that sounds fun, I wouldn't have thought of that, and I just try and rotate through some that I know that my daughters kind of resonate with in those kind of difficult times.
That's so cool. Thanks, Dara. That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really helpful when dads are aware and conscious too. I love that. Thank you, Dara. I often will turn to my husband if my kids are melting down and I'm starting to feel the energy of it. I'll turn to my husband and say, "Can you get them to laugh?" Because laughter will sometimes reset that system for them. And I'm not in a state where I can be silly or think of something funny. And so I turn to my husband. He knows he's the backup, make them laugh person now lately. So I love that.
I love that.
I do too. That's brilliant. I love that, you guys.
This is so good because, and piggybacking on all of this too, where yes, we are responsible for managing ourselves, regulating our nervous system, shifting our emotions and our state. We're entirely responsible for that ourselves. But I love this conversation and what you're all speaking to about, yeah, the family unit, and we help each other with that regulation too. Because what I love to share, and I help the women I work with, who are so many moms as well, and then of course with myself, is yeah, when you're in that overwhelm in the holidays, when you're getting into that stress, or yeah, the tantrum is happening and you're just like, oh my God, I'm going to do the meltdown, right? We're getting into fight or flight, right? Our sympathetic nervous system is activated, and we need to shift that into the vagal phase of our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our healing and regulating rest and digest phase, right? That then is where you're able to get out of all that craziness, right? But it doesn't have to be just a practice you do by yourself. This is what's so fun. Like some of the tools that I like to use because they're easy in the moment is just using EFT, emotional freedom technique. People call it tapping. But do the regulation technique, do the breathing, do the box breathing, do the 7-Eleven breathing, do the EFT, whatever it is. Do it with your kids. Do it with your family. Do it together, right? Because then you're regulating yourself. You're helping your child regulate themselves. You're then modeling for them how to handle these big, messy, complicated emotions as their little system is still developing. And you're doing it all together. And like you're building that little building blocks and practice in them. And oh my gosh, I wish I had this as a kid, because now it's, boy, I've been learning these tools now as an adult and I'm a hot mess with it. It's new and it's harder to learn because we're an adult, right? Learning languages as a kid is easy. Learning music as a kid is easier, right? Because we're that blank slate. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had this as a little kid. And now I'm like, oh, what an opportunity that we get as parents and mom and dads to, okay, mom's a mess, dad's a mess. Let's be together. Sometimes, yeah, I need that separateness. I got to go away. I got to go away. I need my 5 minutes. It doesn't matter what tool I use. I need my 5 minutes. But can we do this as a family during the holidays and any time of the year? And like the whole deflate that balloon of energy and tension and everything together. And you're teaching them a skill at the same time that is one of the most powerful skills in their life. I'm like, heck yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Teal. That was so lovely. And I think that was a perfect way to bring us down to our final thoughts. What are you looking forward to the most this holiday season? I think I'm looking forward to just Christmas morning. Christmas Eve, we do a lot of like formal family things, but Christmas morning, it's being together, cozying up, staying in our PJs, eating a fun breakfast together, and being together time informally.
Love that. Yeah, same for us. My oldest, he's a senior in a high school. We're really cherishing every moment because he's going to be going away to college. Just that time together to slow down and listen. I noticed when we're quiet, when we're just present, that's when your kids open up. That's when they're a little older. That's when they want to talk. Just being present for that.
Oh my goodness, that's a flash forward of for all of us with the little ones. It's coming fast. Wow, sending you love on your Christmas morning with your senior. Thank you, Dr. Jen.
Yeah. It's coming, you guys. It's coming.
I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to with my 2-year-old is that this year she can be more engaged, right? She's running around, she's talking up a storm, she's already like Christmas this and Christmas that, or Christmas tree, or she's into it, right? She gets it, she knows what's going on. And I'm just like thrilled watching her be involved and involving her more. She can help decorate the tree, right? She can wrap presents for Grandma and Gram. She can help do the cookies or whatever we get up to. And my heart just overflows to just have that beautiful little soul participating and the energy of our family just exploding, like these memories, the experience. I get speechless over it. It's amazing.
Oh, you were living in the purity phase. All of the phases have been so fun and they each have their little gifts and moments, but I think age 2 is one of my husband and my favorite age. So live it up.
I just want more sleep. I love it, but I want more sleep.
Yeah, that's true. It does. That part gets better. Dara, did you have a favorite moment you were looking forward to?
I just love the build up to Christmas, like the final week, and I'm gonna love spending that time with my daughter. It's like the time to be really creative and to think ahead about how you want your day or your week to go, buying all the right gifts for everybody, really thinking about how the dinner spread is gonna look, and just I love spending that time with my daughter and making her think about other people, but then also working those personal creative muscles of what do I want Christmas to look like this year? We want for food, what movies are we going to watch, all those kind of things. I just love that time where things start slowing down and you see everybody out hustling and bustling trying to take care of their families, and you just see that collective atmosphere of kind of love and thinking of other people and creating and what's supposed to be one of the most special days of the year.
Yeah. That's so lovely. I appreciate all of you being here today. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing all these amazing words of kindness, love, ancestry, all of these pieces to think about as our holiday season is coming in. And Heart to Heart Parents has had an amazing 2024. It was our first year coming out, and we have felt so much love from the community, the spiritual families, people looking to grow with us and connect with us. And we're just feeling so blessed and loved this year. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thanks. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Yeah, happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in, Changemakers. This is Cari. And if you haven't done a review for us, 5 stars and a little few words about what you've enjoyed in our podcast episodes, we would really appreciate it. If you guys would like to ever message me, I would love any questions you have or any feedback at info@hearttoheartlife.com. We also have a brand new website, which we're super excited to share. It's hearttoheartlife.com. Thanks so much for tuning in, and happy life, happy times, Changemaker families. Please remember that the information shared on this podcast is educational in nature and does not constitute licensed mental health advice. If you need such advice, you should speak with a licensed professional about your unique situation. Thanks so much, happy listeners.